Okay, what I'm going to do now is just talk you through writing out a precipitate reaction chemical formula. So precipitate reactions are where we put two ionic compound solutions. So aqueous solutions where we've got an ionic compound that's been dissolved in water. We put them together, and when we put them into solution, the parts of the ionic compound break apart into their positive and negative ions. So for example, if we put sodium sulfate in, we would find that it would break up into its various ions. And obviously there's not just two sodiums and one sulfate in like a teaspoon of sodium sulfate powder. So we'd have lots of them floating around. If we then mix it, with another ionic compound, let's say calcium chloride, okay, which is CaCl2, then in solution that will break apart to its corresponding positive and negative ions. Again, there'll be lots of them. Right, so these little ionic, positively and negatively charged ions are floating around in solution, and what they can do is partner up with the other chemical's partner, so switch partners. So instead of sodium matching up with sulfate, sodium can match up with chloride ions, and calcium can match up with sulfate ions. So as a result of a precipitate reaction, we take the two original chemicals. So we had sodium sulfate and we had calcium chloride. Arrow to show that we are moving into a reaction and creating some new products. And the new products are basically the front of this one and the back of this one, and the front of this one and the back of this one. So we basically just switch their partners. So we write sodium chloride. Now notice that I haven't written the little two here or the two here. The reason why is that those twos are there because of this combination. Sorry, this combination. I need two sodiums when I'm hooking up with sulfate ions. I need two chloride ions when I'm hooking up with calcium ions. When I'm hooking up with sodium and chloride together, I need to check whether I need two of each or one of each or three of each or whatever. So I need to check the charges on these two before I start putting little numbers in to adjust the formula. So at this stage, I'm just writing the actual parts that are going into the chemicals. So the front of this one is calcium, the back of this one is that sulfate ion. Okay, so sodium is a 1+, chloride is a 1-. That's neutral, so that's the correct formula. I don't need to put any numbers there. For calcium sulfate, calcium is 2+, sulfate is 2-, and therefore I don't need to do anything here because that is also neutral. So these are the correct chemical formulas for all of these chemicals, ionic compounds. Now, we haven't done we haven't actually done this as a chemical prep. So you don't necessarily know at this stage which one will produce a precipitate, if any. So we're not going to put the little states. So you know how normally we would put aqueous or S for solid if we formed a precipitate. For now, we're just going to leave it as a chemical equation which has the correct chemical formulas. Okay, so that's writing out a precipitate reaction. You take your two reactants and you switch their partners. So you create two new ionic compounds. Okay, that's all for now.